DJ BTB, aka Baptin Bold, or Captain Code if you slow, man. Man, I'ma say like this, man. Fuck Cody Rhodes, straight up, man. You dissed the suit, man. You dissing me, you dissing a whole bunch of motherfuckers, man. So I'ma have to freestyle about this puss ass nigga one time, man. And it's dead after that, man. Hold up. First off, Cody, shut your mark ass up before I had your whole ass duct tape inside of the trunk. You always crying like a bitch cause the fans say that you a bust. I got a fofo that'll turn your puss ass into stardust. Talking about you a man, but you act more like my sister. What type of famous ass nigga search his name on Twitter? Replying to random people? Ho nigga, get out your feels. But you got your wife wrestling so she can help you pay half of the bills. Is you serious? In Cody Rhodes, I'm just curious. The way you act like a bitch, I'm starting to think you have periods. So fuck it, I got an idea for your very next spot. Instead of blading, just use some of that blood from your twat. Oh, scam ass nigga, cheese and ham ass nigga. Oh, I hope I can have all in show crammed ass nigga. Is y'all sold out yet? Probably not, and I bet not see your puss ass ever take a motherfucking step on my block. Cause you disrespect the suit, then you disrespecting me. And if you disrespecting me, then you disrespect the B. And your homies can get it too. Yeah, they too gon' get drugged. Picture this, the Bullet Club versus the Bloods inside of a ring or a nightclub. We could throw hands or bust slugs. Back in the day, I would've sold somebody like you some fake drugs. I made you pay 30 a gram after I weighed on the beam. You being a bitch probably wasn't a part of your daddy American dream. So take a Percocet so your puss ass can sit down and chill. Like Joey used to say, shut the fuck up if you will. Either do it for the fade or do it for the loaded steel. I'ma have you slumped in Alabama and dump your body in Brazil. Since you talking down on the soup in they motherfucking feed, I'ma chop and screw the rest of this diss since your puss ass ain't up to speed.
Clown ass nigga, gay ass nigga, insecure HBO Issa Rae ass nigga. You think the suit give a fuck about being banned ass nigga? Fuck Cody Brandy, get you a real man ass nigga,
Puss ass nigga, man. And it's like, you beefing with the suit, my nigga, cause they said an opinion about your puss ass. But nigga, that's what every goddamn podcast gonna do. But I guess when you at the top, motherfuckers gonna throw rocks and shit like some hoes. But I'ma say it like this, man. Fuck Cody and fuck that nigga. Straight up. That's it. Fuck that nigga. Ain't too much to say, man. You ain't gonna say shit to me, nigga. I'm Baptin Bold, nigga. I'm out here, man. We doing this shit. 25/8, nigga. It's 25 hours, 8 days a week, hoe ass nigga. Fuck, nigga.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to an episode of the Drew Yari Show. I'm Drew, and joining me, as always, is the very sexy Jeff Lippman.
I'm always very sexy. I don't always join you. This is a special feature, special occasion.
Special sexy edition of the Sexy Drew Yari Show.
Extra special sexy in honor of Toxic Attractions retaining their titles.
Got that right. So yesterday was Valentine's Day. How was your Valentine's Day, sir?
We actually celebrated our Valentine's Day Sunday. So we had a lovely reservation to Ruth Chris. We had a terrific dinner. Didn't bother watching even a single solitary second of the Super Bowl. And just a real nice dinner. I had my one drink a year. I ordered a glass of Macallan 18 on the rocks. And that was $80. So maybe I should have looked at the menu first, but still, it was delicious, and you don't complain afterwards. But I'm pretty sure I could get a bottle of Macallan 18 for $80. But it was delightful, and Valentine's Day fell on a Monday, so it was I worked, but as fate had it, a bunch of my appointments really were erroneously scheduled for me, and they had to get re-diverted, and then I had like a last minute cancellation, and I was done by 3. So there you go. So it all worked out wonderfully.
Yeah, it was very odd, Valentine's Day falling on a Monday. I mean, it's better when it falls on like sometime in the middle of the week, like on a Thursday, Friday, preferably a weekend. But yeah, because I saw a lot of people, not just you, but they celebrated their Valentine's Day like a day or two early.
Yeah, you want to make a night out of it. You want to have a nice dinner, and I figured Super Bowl was a great time to get reservations because most people are at a sports bar or at their friends' houses or at a party or they're hosting a party, or they're pretending to be at a party and they're home alone. But whatever it is, they're not going out to a ritzy dinner.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you celebrate with the one you love. Monday, we didn't really celebrate. We went to a wake.
Oh, so that's awful.
Very awful. It was very rough, and I won't really get into details, but it was pretty emotional for everybody.
Oh, don't say you cried again.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to sound heartless. I didn't cry because it didn't really affect.
Yeah, that's a win. You didn't cry. Good.
It didn't really affect me, but it was one of those things where I was just like, "Damn, like this is it's getting a little heavy."
So you wanted to cry to be part of the community. You wanted. It was like sympathy tears. Well,
I mean, I felt bad. I felt awful. I mean, if anyone doesn't know, my girl, Betty, her uncle had passed away, and he went to the wake on Monday, and yes, on Valentine's Day we went to a wake, and unfortunately it was the only day they could schedule a wake. And his kids were there, and of course they were getting emotional because that was their dad, and they were close to their dad, and it was rough. It was rough seeing them, hurt like that, and nobody should ever have to feel that way. Nobody should ever have to lose a loved one, but such is life.
Well, everybody's going to lose a loved one. Several, probably.
It's one of those things where you wish that your loved ones could, stay around forever. But, again, that's just how life works, unfortunately. Life's a bitch.
Life's a terminal disease.
Right. And then we wanted to eat with, her and her sister and her brother. And then today is to what was our Valentine's Day. We went out to lunch and went out to Walmart and just looked around and then came home. And then I just watched the NXT show, which we're going to get into in a bit. So, other than that, our dog was sick for a few days, and now she's all right. She's finally eating and walking around, so that's another good thing.
Have you ever considered becoming a country singer?
I don't think you want to hear me sing.
I don't, but I don't want to hear any country singing. That's not entirely true. But maybe just a country music songwriter.
I mean, maybe that could be another career choice for me. Yeah,
I think so. So is that a screensaver you have, or is that actually what your room looks like?
This is our room. I'm currently sitting on my bed. That's our drapes, and those are our figure. Well, actually her brother's figurines that we're holding for him.
Mm-hmm. Those are definitely not my toys affixed to the walls.
Well, no, because I'm not a Thundercats guy. That's actually his bag.
Right, they just happen to be attached to your walls like as works of art, but they're definitely not yours.
Whatever. No, for real, we're actually holding his stuff until he finds his own place. So
right, and affixing it to the wall as if it's a Renoir. I got it.
Whatevs. Anywho,
you have a security guard there protecting it.
Yes, we do. It's our cat.
There's laser pointers there for this elaborate alarm system.
Oh, you got it. And anyone who even tries to breach the security system will be met with severe punishment.
From Mr. Whiskers over there?
Her name is actually Evie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is her friend Atomy?
Oh, no. Evelyn from Masters of the Universe.
Oh, okay.
Evelyn.
I just assumed because you love them so much, it would be Chitara.
Well, I mean, again, unfortunately, I'm not the one who gets to name them most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we usually give them names that they somehow manage to match. Their personalities seem to match the name.
So Eve, she listens to snakes, takes apples she's not supposed to. She's made from a rib. I mean, what character traits does Evie have that displays an Evie in a cat? This is what I'd like to know, and it's great that she's Evie because it's going to be a great segue to EVP, which is actually what people might be tuning into the show for. But yeah, tell me what traits are demonstrating a cat that just scream Evie to you.
Well, she's already a tortoiseshell cat, so she already has an attitude, and she's a mean cat. She's a good kind of mean because she keeps the other cats in line, and she also knows how to play up her cuteness to get what she wants from us.
I friggin' hate cat people.
Yeah, I hate you too.
Good.
Love you too.
Then we understand each other.
You love me and you hate me, and I hate you and I love you too.
As Al Bundy said, love, hate, what's the difference? We're a family.
Let's get into Vengeance Day first, and then we'll get into the big news story of the day. NXT Vengeance Day was today, February 15th. It was at the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, as always. First match right off the bat was Pete Dunne versus Tony D'Angelo in a weaponized steel cage match. Pete Dunne won over. I mean, it was an entertaining match. It did its job. I mean, nothing too out of the box happened. It seemed like the match went by a little too quickly for my taste, and I kind of think D'Angelo should have won over, since the whole point of this new NXT is that, they're building newer stars, and it kind of seems like they still got, some love for Pete Dunne. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I agree with a lot of your points there. I thought the match was fine. I thought it was okay, but I agree. It was pretty quick, and it didn't take full advantage of the stipulation. I mean, it never felt brutal. I agree with you on the Pete Dunne thing. In fact, if anyone listened to Hammerlock Hangover, you would hear me, sort of wrestling with myself and saying, this is a match that the face wins. The face wins this match, but Pete Dunne, geez, and Tony D'Angelo's the new guy. So I said, I'll just pick Tony D'Angelo. But this match is for the face to win, so the face won. Pete Dunne is 26. He makes a point of saying that he's as young or younger than a lot of the new blood. And he did recently re-sign a 3-year contract, which he's probably only 2 or 3 months into. So, he committed to them. I guess they're going to commit to him for, some other stuff. But, the face one, it's the opening match. It really didn't matter. I don't. Hopefully this feud is over. I don't know what you do with Pete D'Angelo next, but I never know what you do with someone. Maybe he gets a tag team partner or something.
Yeah, I mean, because it seems like the feud's kind of done, because later in the night, Pete Dunne, alluded to that he's going to go after the North American title.
Yeah, it has to be done. I mean, if what do you do after a match like this anyway? Buried alive?
Right. I mean, D'Angelo, I don't know who you put him up against, honestly, but, it's NXT. I mean, D'Angelo, I think, is fine in the ring. It's just, and I get, WWE wants to go back to doing characters, but it's just like the whole over-the-top, stereotype Italian, gangsta type of role is just, it's very played out. I mean, I think they could have found something better for him, but, what do I know?
Name it. Tell me. I hear lots of people say, oh, all the wrestling characters are boring, everything's a trope. What I never hear anyone say is a character idea that's good. So, tell me, what should he do?
Again, I don't work in creative. So
what should anyone do? Give me a character that's not a trope, that would be new and fresh and interesting.
I mean, is the guy Tony D'Angelo, and I don't know his actual name, is he actually Italian? First question.
No idea. Who cares?
Okay, so if he actually is Italian, you could just make him just a regular Italian American, and minus the, hey, this is Tony D'Angelo, minus that.
Guess what? I grew up in Lynbrook, New York, and Tony D'Angelo is exactly like 75% of the people I grew up with.
Again, I don't work in creative, so I'm just...
I have no problem with stereotypes. Characters are great. The Iron Sheik was probably the greatest villain of all times. Complete character, and no, he was not Iranian. You had the Russians. Nikita Koloff from goddamn North Carolina. So I don't know where this idea came in that stereotypes are bad. They're allowed in movies. We can have evil Russians there. We can have terrorists there. I mean, if in The Wire you have, you've got the Greeks working the docks and you have rival drug dealing gangs, that's not a big deal. But in wrestling, it's a big deal. Stop. LAX are allowed to be LAX. I mean, what's the problem if you borrow from reality and take it a step further. Wrestling used to be the edgy thing. Now wrestling is more sanitized than frickin' Blue Bloods and Navy Criminal Investigative Service. And no, I don't adhere to that woke snowflake silliness.
Well, first things first, Iron Sheik is Iranian. He's from Dangam Senam Province, Imperial State of Iran. His real name is Hussein Khosrow Ali Vaziri. That's an Iranian name, dude.
Even better.
Second of all, I did not say I have a problem with characters or comic book characters. I don't. I never said that. Never said that at all. I'm just saying his character I have a problem with. That's all I said.
You're just fighting for the Italian man?
I guess I've replaced Kevin Castle as the head of the Italian community.
I think you have been overly influenced by Kevin Castle, John, his brother, and Don Tony. Who, by the way, Don Tony sounds exactly like Tony D'Angelo. I mean, so listen, I get what they're saying, but what is Paul Heyman playing?
He's a Jew,
right? And what's he playing? The smart Jewish lawyer who's always trying to get the winning side. Is he not a stereotype? Of course he is.
Well, he's not really playing a character. He's just playing Paul Heyman.
I'm not sure if that's better or worse. Well, maybe Tony D'Angelo is just playing Tony D'Angelo. I don't know. All I'm saying is that characters welcome, and characters make wrestling interesting. If you just have someone going, I want to fight because I'm tough and I cheat sometimes. I want to fight because I'm tough and I never cheat. Then you have boring wrestling. And we've had for the last 10 years? Boring wrestling.
Again, I like characters. Characters get over. I mean, the Jim Cornettes of the world are all like, we need wrestlers. We need better athletes. Like, yeah, but dude, wrestling doesn't get ratings. AEW.
This is a redhead who drinks pints. Finley walked around with a shillelagh and a leprechaun, for God's sake. What we need is we need more half Irish, half Persian characters, whatever that is.
Exactly. And
we need cat people.
Like AEW can barely get Raw ratings, and Raw still stays above over 1 million. SmackDown still stays above over 2 million because they have
1.6 on the Sci-Fi Network on a throwaway show.
Right, and they still get ratings because they have, wait for it, characters. I agree with characters. I'm fine with characters. I've been watching, you've been watching wrestling longer than me. I've been watching wrestling since '97. I know characters are what gets people over because wrestling and comic books are one and the same. It's about characters. It's about good and evil. AEW doesn't get the ratings that they think they do, and demos aren't a real thing, as much as I like to think it is, because they stick to wrestling. They think wrestling is what's going to get them off.
By saying things I love.
I am. I'm trying to butter you up, man. Again, you're the sexy.
You got me on that rant because we have the person shillelagh here over there advocating for the Italian Americans.
USA. Wait. That's
it's just one aspect. It's like Knights of Columbus. Knights of Columbus.
Anyways,
Columbus was a good guy.
Hey, Tony D'Angelo lost the match. Let's go on to the next match. Hey.
Oh, you said what's next for Tony D'Angelo? What I would love to see him do is try to shake down Cameron Grimes because he's got all the money. He sees an easy mark. And Cameron Grimes can lose feuds. So, I think that could be fun.
Yeah, there you go. Next match, you have Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan and JC Jane defending the NXT Tag Team Championships against Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta.
Hot women act hot. God, why can't hot women act like there's something other than hot?
Yeah, you want Gigi Dolan just to come out in like fucking sweatpants that say juicy.
Yeah, like Wendy Chu's outfit and like one of those clay masks on that like she's doing like a facial.
I love Toxic Attraction. For the obvious reasons. Mandy looking good. Gigi's my favorite personally. JC I think is very pretty. I like her.
You feel that way about all of Darby's exes?
You mean just who else did Darby date?
Doesn't matter. You love them all.
I just love Gigi. I don't really know who else Darby raped. Dated.
That was a bad time to have a slip there.
Hey. Toxic Attraction going over after, well, not really interference, but JC Jane tripping, or not tripping, but grabbing Indy Hartwell to make sure she didn't do her move, and Toxic Attraction win. Gigi looks like she's going to be the star out of this group. I mean, Mandy is the star, but it looks like it's going to be a thing of eventually Gigi will kind of, be a lot bigger than Mandy out of the group.
I don't know that she'll ever be bigger, but she is. I mean, when we did our predictions this year on Breakout Stars, I think I picked Gigi Dolan as one of them. So I agree. Yeah, she definitely has an it factor. She has a different look. She's sexy. She's a good enough wrestler. And actually, I saw one of her matches probably 4 or 5 months before she started showing up in NXT, mostly as a jobber. But I saw her in a match. I think it was on NWA when they were doing work with like Championship Wrestling of Hollywood or UWN, or maybe they're one and the same. Anyway, it was a match with Serena Deeb, and it was a really good match. And yes, Serena Deeb can have a really good match with pretty much anyone, but they were both doing their part. It was a really good match, and then I got excited because Gigi, I think, had already signed with NXT by the time that match had aired. I'm like, oh, that's going to be really great. And so I'm, really digging this. They had their part where they were losers and now they're winners. And yeah, this whole act works. It's the best act in NXT, certainly in the women's division, but I would argue that it's probably the best act in NXT, period. When I think of the face of NXT, I know people like to say it's Braun Breaker, but to me, it's Toxic Attraction with Mandy Rose's face right there in the center.
Right, and then they literally open the show with Toxic Attraction. Again, hot girls looking hot in bed, pretending to DM or getting DMs from their male superstars, and, their money. Mandy's money, Gigi's money. JC, I think, I don't want to say she's the weak link, but she kind of is.
She's holding her own, but yeah, I mean, without a group like this, I don't see a big future for her outside of a faction.
Right, and then like you were saying, Gigi when she was Priscilla Kelly. I mean, I never really saw her matches. I only knew of the tampon spot, that everybody cut her head off about, and sure. I never really gave her too much shit about it, because for one, it was a clean tampon that was kind of a fake, because I think they put like ketchup on it or something, so it wasn't like an actual used tampon. And she made a good point when she said, "Why is it okay for Joey Ryan to do the dick spot, but people are cutting my head off about this?"
Yeah, I mean, this is what the booker paid her to do. She accepted the job, and when you're an indie wrestler, you don't really get to decline a lot of jobs. Especially, listen, I know it's hard to fathom this now, but 4 years ago, Joey Ryan was a fairly big name in the indies. Not, it's not like he was going to be in WWE or anything, but he was on Impact, he was on Lucha. People were talking about him going to AEW, and then Speaking Out came out, and there were like 22 allegations against him, and then he made things 100 times worse in public by suing Impact, but also suing all of the or a lot of the women who made allegations. All of those cases he had to drop, with the exception of the Impact one, which is still going on, but seems to be in some sort of a pre-dismissal status. And my man Stephen P. New is looking into that, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy that's still going on.
Well, it takes long. Don't forget, everything got backed up by a year and a half or 2 years in the legal systems, just everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad, of all the things with Speaking Out, that's one of the things that was kind of a positive, that he got pushed out of the business. That, everybody decided to wipe their hands from him, which is good.
Yeah. And I, like everyone else, saw that there were some things that were, overplaying their hands, and some things were just like, he was a bad boyfriend, or I had a bad date once, or this guy asked me out and I said no. I mean, so what? But there were some legit things, obviously, in there, and the worst offenders got vetted out. There's probably some people who deserve worse who didn't, because it wasn't that convincing. But bad people make mistakes again. They'll come up, and it seems like the people who are on the the lower end of a sort of just being teenage boys kind of thing, they still have their livelihood, and they probably got embarrassed enough, and they learned painful lessons, which hopefully were teachable moments, learning experiences, and things that they grow and mature from, and whatever. But Joey Ryan being mostly out of wrestling is a good thing.
I believe there's a segment after this. It was the public arrest of LA Knight from Grayson Waller, because apparently you can make public arrests a week later. And Grayson Waller shows him the footage of LA Knight attacking him, and then LA Knight shows him the footage of Grayson Waller attacking him, and then he shows the restraining order saying, I can't touch Grayson Waller, but Grayson Waller can't touch me, and the cops are just like, oh, well, he's right. And then they just walk out and leave.
This segment was stupid. What he should have done is timestamped and shown that Grayson Waller attacked him first, and then the cops should have arrested Grayson Waller and taken him out. That's how they should have done it in wrestling. That said, LA Knight is the most over face in NXT. The crowd was going crazy. They're yelling his name, and I couldn't be happier because I have been a fan of this guy, I don't know, 7-8 years now. I mean, when I think I first saw him on Impact, and then followed his path to NWA, and then was wondering what the hell is he doing. I'd see him occasionally on commercials or in places like Championship Wrestling of Hollywood, and I'm like, why is this guy not a big star? And then I heard NXT signed him and had high hopes, and that seemed to start and stop. I'm wondering why he's not on the main roster. God knows that they need someone who can fill a 15-20 minute segment between talking and wrestling. But there he is, doing a great job. And as little as I like Grayson Waller, between the gigantic bodyguard he has, who is actually, according to Kevin Castle, a gold medalist kickboxer at some point, and this thing with LA Knight, when Grayson Waller comes on my screen, I don't roll my eyes. I actually look at it, look forward to it, not because Grayson Waller's there, because of what's going on around him. But maybe that'll change. That's step one, isn't it?
I'm not really feeling Grayson Waller. The bodyguard, I need to see more of him, but Grayson Waller is just, I still don't get it. I don't get what his gimmick is. I mean, I do and I don't. I mean, his whole thing is I'm a social media whore. But right. then he comes out pretending to be a boxer or a kickboxer. I think his thing is I'm the attention whore who cut the line, and I'm going to stay here by whatever devious means necessary, and I look ridiculous. No, listen, I don't love Grayson Waller. Anyone who's ever listened to Hammerlock Hangover and probably my visits on your shows or somebody else knows that Grayson Waller isn't my thing, but like I said, all of this together, I'm not groaning when he comes on my TV set. Now, take all of this away. If it's him and Cameron Grimes again, I'm back to rolling my eyes and going, this is a piss break, not interested. So whether there's a stay or not, whether this is something that has staying power for Jeff and Jeff alone, I don't know. But at least I see LA Knight, I see the giant guy Sangha, and I'm like, okay, this could be cool. And LA Knight, I agree with you. I think he's the most over guy in NXT, or over, babyface in NXT. And I, unfortunately, didn't get to see too much of his work when he was in Impact. Saw a little bit of it in NWA, and I always thought, this is a guy who, I can't tell if he's trying to be too much like The Rock or Steve Austin, but he's very entertaining. He does that thing that Mr. Kennedy does, where he does that voice that like he does that. I'm like, I can't tell if he's in character, if he's doing a bit, or if that's actually how he talks. I like him a lot more in NXT because he's been able to showcase a lot of his strengths, which is over the top but not shticky, and he's a hell of a babyface. I think he's really good in the ring. He's not a Shawn Michaels or anything, but not everybody has to be a Shawn Michaels. He just needs to have a great over-the-top personality and just be entertaining as hell on the mic. And, the fans love him. As soon as he comes out, the whole place goes nuts.
Yeah, and looks like $1 million. He's not particularly tall, but he's tall enough, and he's got the right build. But, when people compare him speaking-wise, he's copying Stone Cold, or he's copying Ken Kennedy, or The Rock, Some of his facial expressions to me remind me of Ric Flair, the way his eyebrows and his eyes are. I mean, but if you're comparing someone to any of those people, and I'll even go to Ken Kennedy when he first came. Ken Kennedy was over. Everyone thought he was going to be a big thing. He just self-destructed. But if you're going to compare somebody to those people, I mean, great. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, those are some pretty good people to be compared to. Is he as good as any of them? No. But, for 2022, is he great? Is he interesting? Yes.
Yeah, and he definitely needs to be on the main roster because it's just like, not saying put him in the main event scene right away, but it's just like Damian Priest needs more guys to wrestle besides AJ Styles or The Miz. Sami Zayn needs more opponents to wrestle besides, Nakamura or fill in the blank. Like, right. the main roster needs more people, and guys like Knight need to be on the main roster. I mean, it wouldn't be bad if Ciampa worked a few matches on the main roster. It wouldn't be bad. I mean, he has, but it's dark matches. I mean, like, actually on TV. Same thing with, like, a Pete Dunne. Have him work a few matches on the main roster.
You will never see Pete Dunne on the main roster.
I'm just saying. But, moving on from that segment, we got Carmelo Hayes defending the North American Championship against Cameron Grimes. Another match I think kind of went by a little too quick, but I enjoyed it. I mean, the match did its job. It was a fun match. Hayes has it. He's a guy I've done a 180 on because he can walk the walk and he can talk the talk. He's talented in the ring. He doesn't look like a small child like an Adam Cole. He actually looks like a wrestler. He looks like a professional wrestler. And he's money. Cameron Grimes, is doing his job as the guy who puts over the other guy, and he does a great job with it. He doesn't he knows how to sell. He's like Dolph Ziggler. He knows how to sell like a motherfucker, and that's gonna have him have a job here for life. They're gonna love him up there because he's gonna make everybody look good, and he's a good character. But Hayes winning. What'd you think about the match?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, the right guy won. Retained his title, which is fine. He's now in the future. Cameron Grimes is sort of a wrestler coach. I'm not really feeling Trick Williams. I mean, I guess that they are friendly, but I'm not really digging the guy who's, he's got abs and shit, but he's really, really thin, and I'm not really interested in that sort of thing. And they could find someone else that can talk, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, I thought it was a good match. That guy won, and I like Carmelo Hayes. I still get confused as to why they turned him heel. Not that he's not a good heel, but he was actually a good babyface, and that's a lot harder to be. Maybe he wanted to be, or maybe Trick is his friend, and they said, well, we can put him with you, but if there's a guy with you, you guys have to be heels. And he's like, okay, no problem. Challenge accepted. So, yeah, he's doing well. And listen, he's small for my taste, but I actually see in him one of those people because of his charisma, because of his facial expressions, because he's objectively good looking. He's got the square jaw. He almost reminds me a little bit of Giancarlo Esposito,
right?
Facially, but he also has that that Carrie Ewell's, like in the Princess Bride, that sort of cocky smile. He doesn't have to overact to look like he's confident. Like he's got it. He's got it going on, and his moves are crisp. He's got a good move set. They look like they hit. I don't remember ever seeing him botch. Period. I'm sure somebody can pull something out, but I don't. Yeah, he is somebody that, even though he's probably closer to your 5'6", 5'7", I could see it. I mean, I don't want to say he's going to be Daniel Bryan because there might only be one Daniel Bryan, but I could see him being one of those guys that has a future in this business on the main roster, despite being short. And have a good career and successful. And obviously you can be face and heel, so cool.
Do you think he's kind of what they wanted Isaiah Swerve Scott to be?
I think that Isaiah Swerve Scott was fine just the way he was, except for his doofy group. I mean, I think that guy Top Dollar really ruined things for them. But that said, I mean, that was just a case of everything going wrong, even though it looked like it was going right. Like, I thought they were pretty good, and then people were criticizing their raps. Who cares about wrestling rappers, how good they are? They're wrestlers, they're not rappers. It's just supposed to be funny. You know, as a squad, they worked, they had an attitude. They moved them to the main roster way too quickly, and on the main roster, they looked like goofs. They were like doing the "we're not worthy" thing to King Woods. It just, none of it worked. It just didn't translate. It looked all silly. And the only one who seemed to have an actual wrestling character was Swerve. But I think that maybe they were real life close. Maybe they picked their own faction, and I think it became guilty by association. That said, Swerve, you know, he has more wear on his tires than Carmelo does. You know, he worked the indies for a long time, you know, in death matches. And, you know, my favorite match with Swerve was Killshot versus AR Fox in Lucha Underground, and that was brutal. And that was like an hour-long match. But, you know, I don't really know. I don't know much about Swerve. I know that he has sort of bounced around a bit, and maybe that's just him. He tweeted today, huge announcement tonight at 8, and someone in one of the wrestling groups who's, you know, pretty good on news and whatever said, he said Shane Strickland has a huge announcement tonight at 8. I'm like, it's not going to be a huge announcement, dude. It's going to be nothing. Just like the Briscoes last week. It was even less. His huge announcement was that he has a merch store up, like he's got shirts on for sale. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, a lot of these huge announcements end up leading nowhere mostly.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the huge announcement right after we're done with this. So there's another big segment that happened, and I'm trying to remember what it is.
Well, you had Portia and Indy sort of commiserating together, and then Dexter came, basically ignored Portia, walked away with Indy, and then you had Duke Hudson come, and he and Persia, not Portia, walked away hand in hand. So, you know, you've got the face couple and the almost heel couple in the same team, and they're in the Dusty Women's Cup, so that's going to be a problem. But I think you're talking about probably when Brooks and Jensen, or Briggs and Jensen, I want to say Brooks and Dunn, were at the bar, and, you know, Jensen doesn't realize that Kate and Carter put him in the friend zone. He thinks that you know, that her giving him a hug and giving him, you know, calling him her little brother or something like that was a good sign. And they knew the bartender. Maybe she's in the performance center or something. They said, "Hey, Fallon, what are you doing here?" She's like, "Oh, it's my family's place." I mean, I don't know who she is, but I guess if you know, the NXT family recognized her face, that explained it. So good. I like that. I like when wrestling, you know, acts that way. The acting from these folks is so bad that I almost love it, and that mustache on Jensen is terrible. I think it's a little bit odd that you've got a friend zone storyline going on with Reggie and Dana Brooke, though that might be over now. Well, unlikely. Nothing in WWE ends easily. And now Jensen and Caden. But it's cute. It's funny. You know, he's playing the dumb hick. Now, I don't like Jensen. He needs to put on 40 pounds. Briggs is a big guy, looks like a wrestler. Jensen doesn't work for me at all. But at least these segments are funny, but I have no interest in seeing him in the ring.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny segment. It's just like, you look in NXT, it's just like, is everybody in NXT just horny and just wants to fuck the shit out of somebody?
Well, who else are you talking about?
Well, I mean, you had was it Briggs and Jensen, you had Persia and Duke, and then, of course, the married couple of Indy and Dexter.
Well, they're married.
Yeah, it's just like, the problem I think Joey Numbers pointed out with WWE is just like, everybody in WWE is attractive, but we have to pretend that they don't want to, you know, bang each other. Now in NXT, everybody wants to bang each other.
Right. Well, now they're leaning into it a little bit, and they're starting to recognize reality. And is it awkward as fuck with Reggie and Dana and the 24/7 stupidity? Sure, but at least they're acknowledging that men and women who are young and attractive and work together and travel together might just, you know, form attractions. I think that's fine. You know, they don't need the whole Diamond Dallas Page stalker angle thing. They you know, they don't need to go down.
I can't live without you.
Yeah, they don't need the soap opera thing where Jack Devereaux like raped Kayla, and then a year and a half later she fell in love with him. They got married.
You mean with DDP pretending that he found Taker's wife attractive?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe he did. You ever look at DDP's face? He's nothing to write home about.
Yeah, but it's just like his ex-wife was Kimberly, and then Taker's, wife at the time was Sarah, who had a face like a foot.
True. Even Evie can tell you that the heart wants what the heart wants.
By heart, do you mean penis?
I'm not a biology professor here, Drew. I don't know. I don't know these details.
Oh man, this is a very sexy episode of the show tonight.
You did promise sexy at the top of the show.
Very sexy. And then there was too sexy. Then there was a vignette for Nikita Lyons teasing that she'll make her debut next week, so we have that to look forward to.
Ugh, this whole thing is so ridiculous with her.
Yeah, I know you're not a fan.
I mean, she has like no personality, especially for someone who's like, her thing is like, I'm a rock star and I'm a ass picker, and like when she speaks, she has like no affect in her voice.
Yeah, it's just like, I like her look. She has a good look. I mean, she's, I'm going to quote you, she's what the kids call thick, and she has that going for her. She looks like she can be something with her look. But it's just like, these vignettes have been kind of waning my interest in her, because she just comes on and goes, my dad was a rock star, and my mom, she was a roadie, and they taught me how to be a star in entertainment, and I'm a rapper, and right. I can also fight, and you can, like, oh my god, my boner that I had for you is shrinking.
Right. We went from one rap act to another act. I mean, at least she could be like a rock star. Like if she tried to be like a heavy metal girl, she sort of has the hair for it. She's not my cup of tea, but like her personality, she doesn't have any. Like I said, she doesn't emote. She doesn't. There's no charisma. There's no spark there, and I don't know how you fake that. Now, physically, she's not my type either, but there's definitely a marketplace for that. I don't know. We'll see. She's still young, and sometimes things click, but. Yeah, I'm not particularly excited about it, but I don't know. We're gonna need something to replace Wendy Chu, because that whole thing is, I liked it in the beginning, but it's sort of losing its humor for me. And the Dakota Kai thing, like, I don't know, Dakota Kai should just be an agent or a coach or something. This is, this Gollum routine is no good.
Gollum.
Talking to herself.
And then, there's another vignette at the beginning of the show where they showed Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez training for the Dusty Women's Cup. So,
there's another two people who can act. I mean, Cora Jade, her talking, she should play a mute. She should actually take a page out of Darby's book and almost never speak.
Yeah, she is not very good on the mic, and I don't know if you want to throw it up to inexperience. But she can't really cut a promo. I mean, Raquel's not that much better, but
no, she is. But at least she's big.
Yeah, she should thank her lucky stars that she's 6 feet tall.
Right. And if you took the underacting by Cora Jade and the extreme overacting by Tiffany, is it Hadden or Stratton?
Yeah.
So if you just took her extreme overacting and turned it into overacting, and gave that amount to either Cora Jade or Nikki Lyons, it would probably work okay.
You see, another thing with Tiffany Stratton is she's kind of like a, what's her name? Lacey Evans. No. I was saying that as far as like look goes, she's like a Lacey Evans where she looks like she can kick anyone's ass. I mean, she's fucking swole as fuck, and then they have her playing this clueless gimmick.
Yeah, but she's 5'4". Lacey Evans is like 5'10". I mean, if you see them next to each other, it's a different thing. Yeah, she's a muscular woman. I mean, but Ivy is already the short muscle one. But yeah, she's doing a clueless gimmick. I mean, it's a gimmick. It's a character. So I think it'll work better in a bigger auditorium, a bigger arena than in just the NXT Capitol Wrestling Center where there's 300 people from Florida.
Yeah, I still hate this Southern Belle gimmick. Like it's just like, why not just make Lacey Evans Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat? Like she's She's
you're talking about Lacey? I thought you were about Tiffany. She's like the clueless girl. She's not a Southern Belle.
Yeah, Lacey. Like her whole they still are doing the Southern Belle gimmicks. Like this girl has actually killed people. Make her Sonya Blade.
Lacey Evans hasn't been on TV in like close to a year. They're not doing any gimmick with her right now.
She'll be back, and they're gonna still continue that dumbass gimmick.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe we'll see. It doesn't matter because she's. I mean, she whatever the gimmick they give her, she's not one of their top 6 or 7 people anyway.
I mean, they sure as hell push her like she is.
I disagree. They had her in a dating angle with Ric Flair. What could be worse than that? And at the time, they were going to push her to win that title from Asuka. Maybe not. I don't know. You know, everyone always thinks they know what they're pushing. I still hear people saying that they're pushing Liv. I mean, it's so obvious that the Liv experiment.
Liv's dead. Like she's dead.
And
in
they
the
were
water.
pushing Doudrop. No, that experiment is over. Also, at least for now. I mean, they can always rehabilitate these things and revisit them again, but it's still Charlotte. It's still Becky. It's still Bianca. Now it's Ronda and everyone else. You know, and I think Rhea is probably the next one up below them before any Shotzi or Carmella or you know, anyone.
It wouldn't shock me if Shotzi's the next one to be on a bus flip, and that kind of hurts to say because I love Shotzi.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't bother me that much just because, I mean, she hasn't really done anything. I mean, I like her too, but I mean, I think the rosters need more wrestlers, not less wrestlers, so I don't think there should be any sort of a bus flip. I think they should actually, you know, maybe charter a bus and bring some people back on in. But, you know, they offered a contract to Roxy, who was the Women of Honor champion. She lost it to Deonna Purrazzo while Ring of Honor was on hiatus, still on hiatus. It hasn't been confirmed that Roxy is signed. Bobby Cruz actually told me that I was irresponsible in suggesting that she did sign. Bobby Cruz is the ring announcer for Ring of Honor. But if she does sign, I mean, you know, she's a hedge against Cora Jade's failure.
Oh, we'll see. Anyways, we have 2 more matches to get through. So, Dusty Cup Finals. The winner will receive your future NXT Tag Team Championship. Creed Brothers, Brutus and Julius with Malcolm Bivens, Ivy Now, Roderick Strong, defeated MSK. Again, this is kind of the story of tonight. They should have probably put this on Peacock because a lot of these matches could have benefited from being a little longer, especially this match. But fine match. You know, the Creed Brothers won, and that's good because, again, they're the team on the rise. You know, MSK is still going to be over, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were on the main roster in a few weeks. But Creed Brothers won. Looks like they're going to face Imperium. And then we'll talk about what happened after the match. But what'd you think about the match?
I agree with you. I think it was a little bit short, but I have no complaints with that because I don't need long matches. But the right team won. I really like the Creed Brothers. I really like Diamond Mine without Roderick Strong. I like that Cody Rhodes appeared and gave the Dusty Cup to the winners.
Wait, he did, or did I miss that?
No, that didn't happen.
I was going to say, I looked away for a bit. Did that really happen?
They did like a whole vignette about Dusty Rhodes, like a 90-second one, like a full whole thing of Dusty Rhodes clips and him speaking. So, you know, I don't know that they've done that before, at least not for the last couple of years, but coincidence, I think not.
And then after the match, Imperium came out. Gunther. Fuck, I'm still going to call him Walter. I don't care. You know, talks a little bit of shit. The whole crowd is chanting Walter, Walter. And then Solo Sikoa came out. You know, the other Uso, and you know, steps up to Walter, saying, you know, basically saying, you know, you gotta go in the yard and take out the biggest, baddest dog in the yard, and I'll make you my bitch. Because apparently that's what all Samoans say. They say bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're getting Sikoa versus Walter. I mean...
Sikoa. I thought this was a really weak segment. First of all, you got Gunther wearing like a tennis shirt buttoned up like he's freaking Urkel. I mean, it was like the least intimidating outfit you could possibly have. I mean, it just looked like somebody's oversized asshole father. And then Solo Sikoa makes this whole big thing about, I'm going to come and I'm going to punch you in the mouth and I'm not afraid. And here we climb the tree and we slap you down and I'm going to take you out. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to do something about it. Then he continues to talk. It's like he's doing like the same thing as Ortiz did on Dynamite last week. He's like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to show you with my actions. I'm going to keep on talking. And then instead of attacking him, even though Gunther, sort of told his boys to back up, he just dropped down off the ring mat, which is probably smart. But, I mean, you're saying I'm so tough, I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to come here, smack you in the mouth. And he just continues to talk, and then he walks away. I mean, his words and his actions didn't match each other, and I found that to be goofy.
Yeah, that is weird. But I mean, they obviously think something of Sequoia, so they're putting him in the ring with Walter, who's apparently a German, history teacher. But I mean, we got Austrian, whatever, and they got that to look forward to. So good. And
you correct me on the Iron Sheik, I'm going to correct you on the guy that you're allegedly a fan of.
Hey, I don't have to know everything about everybody, all right?
Okay.
But the Austrian Gunther. So let's go to the main event. You have for the NXT Championship, Braun Breaker, the champion, defending against Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar paying homage to Eddie Guerrero. Apparently, I think they said it was today, marks the 18th anniversary when Eddie Guerrero beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. Coming out, his trunks looking like, Eddie Guerrero's trunks. And even has a poncho that had, looked like the LWO symbol was actually, the Phantasma symbol. So, Legado del Fantasma.
Yeah, that was cool.
Braun Breaker comes out with boos. People booing Braun Breaker, so...
I think they were going, woo, 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 like they used to do for his dad.
No, those are boos. Those are boos, dude. Like it was clear as day. They were booing him.
Well, he is a little bit repetitive and a little bit dull. I mean, so maybe he's getting overexposed. But I honestly didn't really pay attention to that, so I'll just stop.
All right. So they went out there, had a good match. Little bit of fuckery during the match. Dolph Ziggler came out and super kicked Braun, and then Ciampa came out and chased him out. It's going to be Ciampa and Dolph Ziggler next week on NXT. And, I mean, it was a fine match. I like Escobar. It's one of those things with Escobar, it's just like, what are they going to do with him? Are they either going to do something with him in NXT, or they're going to move him up to the main roster? Nothing.
They're there as player coaches. And so is Santos. Santos is playing the heel role of Cameron Grimes.
You see, I don't know. I think he's just way too talented. Like, he needs something more. But, whatever. Braun wins
give him a year or two at some point, but I think he's 41 years old. His ship has sort of come and gone now, but he does have the best tope suicida in the business.
He's 37.
Santos?
Yep.
Well, I don't know. That might be a south of the border birth certificate. Remember that kid, the minor league baseball, what was his name, Daniel Amonte or Amalfi or whatever, and it said he was like 13, and it turned out he was like 20.
No comment. What did you think about the match?
Well, it was pretty good. I mean, you're probably going to say it was too short, and you're not wrong, but I thought it was fine. I mean, you had a little chicanery. Dolph Ziggler snuck and gave him a super kick, tried to come in again after that didn't work, and Tommaso Ciampa decked him, so that feud's going to go on, and Dolph was going to want an NXT champion. Dolph actually had a pretty good promo. I mean, he kept talking about Florida, and Tommaso had a pretty good promo saying too that I know everybody thinks I'm a minor leaguer and that I'm in my comfort zone and they don't respect what I do, but nobody's better than me, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I thought the match was fine. You knew that Braun Breaker wasn't going to lose the belt. I knew it wasn't going to be the Santos Escobar for the reasons I just stated. But I thought the NXT Vengeance Day delivered. I do not think that it was like a pay-per-view type event. I thought it was a little bit underwhelming, so I expected more of like a takeover So I'd probably only give it a 7.5 out of 10. But it did what it needed to do. It just didn't feel like a super special show other than there being a bunch of title matches.
Well, the next takeover is actually going to be in Dallas. It's going to be the first takeover on the road since, I believe, Takeover Portland, which was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was actually the first time I had you on the show. Coincidentally.
Wow. So it's going to be our anniversary. Are you going to post something with my picture with a Drew Yari belt?
Maybe. Maybe I will.
Nice.
It's going to be a very sexy picture.
Too sexy, no doubt.
Vengeance Day, what were your highlights and lowlights?
My highlights, Toxic Attraction retaining. Ooh, my lowlight. It had to be the Solo Sikoa promo. It was weak, and not even Boa ran out to do anything. So that apparently is gone and over with.
Highlights, Toxic Attraction opening the show, looking sexy, doing sexy girl things. The main event I thought was pretty good. The tag match for the finals I thought was really good. I thought that was probably the best match of the night. Probably could use a little bit more time. Lowlights, that Sequoia promo. It was one of those things where it's just like, oh, we're getting Sequoia versus Walter? Cool. And you decide to give us this weird promo. But that was Vengeance Day. So let's talk about the big news of the day.
Quinn McKay joins NXT Level Up on commentary.
Yes, but we'll talk about the second biggest news of the day.
Okay, fine.
I don't know how to break this news to you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Rhodes is gone from NXT. Not NXT, AEW. He might be coming to NXT.
How's that possible? Wasn't he an EVP? Aren't AEW jobs for life?
I don't know. I thought AEW was the personification of perfection.
How does an executive vice president leave?
Well, I have his statement here from Mr. Cody Rhodes.
What will happen to Rhodes to the Top? What will happen to the Go Home show?
I will read his statement.
What about Brandy's cooking show, for God's sake? This may be the first time I cry in like 4 decades.
It's okay, Jeff. Just cry. Just let it all out.
Where's Evie?
So Cody Rhodes put this on his social media. I believe it was his Instagram. I have loved my time at AEW. Amazing locker room, amazing fans, amazing people. The quote-unquote revolution was indeed televised, and I have been incredibly lucky to be part of that. It was a lot. First, I want to thank Tony Khan. He's taken the baton and run with it. It was an honor. It was an honor to work for him and to know him on a personal level. He's a beautiful soul. Obviously, need to thank my incredible wife and the mother of my baby girl, Brandy, for all of her love and support throughout this journey together and the amazing relationships she fostered with Culture City and the American Heart Association. I also need to thank Nick and Matt Jackson, parentheses, these two, whether they know it or not, they took an undersized and not little confident cub and gifted me the confidence to become the leader of the pack.
Wait, hold on a second. Like, Cody's like a foot taller than them, and for God's sake, who's going to be the chief brandy officer now?
Probably Jade Cargill. Kenneth,
I could get behind that.
I bet you could. Kenneth Omega, Chris Jericho, Chicken. I don't know who the hell that is.
TBS means this brand sexy.
Hey. Copyright
right.
that shit. We started the fire. I must thank Tim with Keith M/Greg W. I don't know who the fuck these people are. Wait a minute. I think I'm reading it wrong. Tim W, Keith M, and Greg W, and the amazing production crew who understood and captured the vision with such grace. I can't name everybody, but thank you to Mega, Margaret, Harrington, Jeff Jones, Dana, Tony Schiavone, Byrne, Wrath, and the hardest worker in the game, QT Marshall, for propping me up and kicking me in the ass when I was running on fumes. I must thank all my kiddos. MJF, Jade, Sammy, Darby, Lee, Ricky, Tom, The Guns, Brock, Velvet, Nyla, Aubrey, Turner, Jesus Christ, Vanilla, Solo, Spears, Julia, Anna, Will, Wardlow, Sunny, Fuego 1, and of course Negative 1. While we're at it,
child support must be a bitch.
Give Jade the Cody Vader. Also, need to take a moment to thank the great partners at Warner Media, including Brett, Sam, and the rest of the team. I have so many milestones and beautiful memories of the Renaissance. Through sweat, blood, tears, literal fire, and all that, I left it all on the mat. Everything pales in comparison to the final contribution I was empowered to lead the company, or at the company, I'm sorry. The community outreach team. In the most inward moments, your outward behavior and your ability to take fame, influence, and do something of value for the communities you visit, whether the cameras are on or off, is the highest honor. I am confident Amanda Huber will lead the department with style. I am so proud of my creations and contributions. I don't know.
You should know that's Brody Lee's widow.
I know who that is, but I don't know what the department is. Where was I?
Brandy officer, most likely.
And contributions and the items I supported or collaborated on which such wonderful professionals. Thank you, fans. Y'all do all the work. Let's live forever.
Holy shit! He said he left it all in the ring. Apparently not. He still had a novel in him, and I bet he edited that 6 times. So
Cody gone. Already rumors about him going to WWE. Sources coming out saying that his camp is already speaking to WWE about
he hates WWE. He took ball peen hammers to thrones and stuff. What? How is this possible? What betrayal be this?
It's like in Spider-Man Homecoming. He told Triple H, "I just wanted to be like you. I wanted you to be better."
Okay, well, yeah, it's just like that. Okay, well, I guess his timing is good because Triple H has been sidelined. So I guess it's time for the age of the Prince of Princes, Quadruple H.
Oh man, so what does this kind of say about how AEW is looking? You know, there's already rumors coming out saying that him and Tony Khan had a fallout. I mean, there was already the news that came out, I believe it was like last year, that him and Omega and the Bucks are already like having their fallout. I forget who I said this to, but of everybody in that whole Bullet Club Elite thing, Cody, to me, always seemed like he was kind of the odd man out because, you know, he was the WWE guy. You know, yeah. Kenny and the Bucks, you know, they were friends. You know, Kenny knows what he wants out of AEW. You know, the Bucks know what they want out of AEW. They knew what they wanted out of this company, whereas Cody, to me, it struck me as he just wanted to use this company as a platform to become famous. And, you know, he had his reality show. He has his reality show. It's already got renewed for another season. He has his game show, or whatever the fuck you call it. And it's clear to me he wanted this for his ego and his fame. What do you think?
I have a few thoughts. And first, I've said this many times, but I feel like I should say in this show because you know, this is probably going to be a little bit of dumping on Cody. But I will say, the man bet on himself, and he won. He didn't feel like he was being treated well in WWE. He left on his own accord. He, you know, went to things where I can tell you at the time people thought it was a joke. He went to Impact. He had the mustache. He had the Impact Grand Championship. Then he went to Ring of Honor, which is, you know, he's continuing to punch down. He's doing the indie thing. They're talking about doing, you know, they do the All In thing. There's, you know, there's the sort of the same tribes who are on different sides now took the same sides then. You know, the truth about All In is still in denial. But anyway, that was whatever you want to, whoever paid for the show, it was proof of concept. It proved a point. It was a success. So the man bet on himself and won. And then he got in a position where he was not just talent, he was an executive, an employee. I don't know what kind of benefits they have, but if a company grows, you know, companies tend to have things like health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, you know, 401k or employer-sponsored IRA, so benefits that most wrestlers don't have. He got himself on those shows, partly because of his relationship with AEW, partly because of AEW's relationship with the Warner Brothers family, so he could get his SAG-AFTRA credits, and that's another access to a guild and benefits like group insurance and things like that. I think that the stories about the schisms between him and the other elite are true. I don't think there's any doubt about that now. I never had a doubt. I think that they all had shared goals and had a lot of fun and enjoyed the success, but once they were in business together, I think they realized that they didn't really like each other very much. But I think at the end of the day, say what you want about the Young Bucks style of wrestling, whether it's wrestling or old school or stunt dancing or whatever you want, I think that's what they want to do. Kenny Omega, say what you want about him, and then he likes the Josie wrestling, he jazz hands, whatever. But I think being a wrestler is what he wants to do. I don't think those three guys really wanted to be bosses. I think that they didn't like the idea of Cody being their boss, and he probably was the one who acted like a boss. I mean, there was plenty of stories that Cody was the only one who showed up in the office every single day. They worked like an executive. Tony let him be the face of the company. He was like the Triple H. I mean, I think Cody really wanted to be a combination of Triple H and John Cena, get the showbiz career. And I think that everyone sort of got sick of his shit. And they, he was a big draw, but maybe obviously he wasn't the biggest draw. They sort of, got people who were just as big, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, some people have grown into that, MJF perhaps. But he never really got them over any sort of hump, and I think they were just tired of his shit, and he wanted a lot of money. So I don't know that it really says much about AEW per se. I know everyone's trying to make it a watershed moment. I am too. I think it's fun. Oh my God, the cracks in the dam. How could this guy? Everyone thought Cage was going to be the first one to leave, or maybe be an old timer or whatever. The Big Show would come back for whatever God knows reason. And Cody, the symbolism of it is huge, but it does tell you a couple things. One, you don't make as much money as they like to tell you in AEW. They say you're going to make the same as you would in WWE. Okay, well, if Cody left for money, lie number one that he engaged in. He's willing to sacrifice Brandy's job. I'm sure she's going to say that she wants to spend more time with the family as a new mother. Bullshit. Everyone's going to get on that. Oh, she's happy. That's all that matters. I would say that while I don't think that Tony Khan is an overtly vindictive person, I think Big Swole would say otherwise. So I think this puts QT Marshall's school at jeopardy. I think it puts Dustin in jeopardy. I think it puts all of those students, your Brock Andersons, your Lee Shoddy Johnsons, your Sean Deans, your Aaron Solos, your George Jalls, your Nick Camarados, all of the people that came from Cody World. I don't know about Red Velvet. A lot of people he called his kids aren't his kids. They, he might have, brought some of them in, but a lot of those people are students of his school and his brother's school. Arn has to be worried. I mean, what the hell purpose does he have without Cody being there? He, for his own interests, whatever they were, whether I'm sure we'll find out more, he indirectly put probably 20 or 25 people's, jobs in jeopardy. Now, a lot of those people, I would non-renew them. I would have fired some of them. But I'm not Tony Khan. I'm not AEW. I'm not Paradise and Utopia, and AEW is life. I think that there's a budget. And today, ironically enough, Meltzer reported, well, they're staying within the budget, which has been discussed in previous negotiations. No. We've never heard about a budget before. There was no budget. There's obviously no evidence of any budget. Now, I don't know if Cody heard Shad was looking at the books. I don't know if he overheard a conversation. I don't know if Shad said in front of Cody, listen, Blondie, shut up, you hired help. This is my son's toy, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to let him, play with his toys forever. At some point, he's going to have to treat this like a business. Cody's like, oh, fuck, we're $90 million in the red. And everything's being banked on a video game, which, geez, video games don't sell that well. I never really wanted to tell him that before. It'll be Kenny's fault, yay. But I don't know. Whatever it is, it's a huge moment. Whether it's just about greed and ego, it's a huge moment. And the fact that he's going to go back to WWE says anyone can. It sort of tears into that prison narrative, and it's really what a lot of skeptics were saying. The Joey Numbuses, the John Drapers, the you, the me, the Kevin Castles, the Mishas of the world, all along. Not the JDs, not the Jason Solomonsters, not the WrestleJoys, everyone, AW, happy, joy, happy rainbows, and everyone's saying at some point this is going to be a business. At some point you're going to see the cracks. And we saw the cracks. They were all there, but people chose to ignore them. And guess what? A lot of people are choosing to ignore them as well. But just like any cult, and I'm not comparing AEW to Trump, but Trumpism is a bit of a cult. And as more and more things come up, they lose 1 or 2% at a time. And so this 44% movement, that was a 23% movement. And, as these cracks, and the thing is, if people just thought of AEW as just another wrestling promotion that they enjoyed because of the wrestling or the action or the wrestlers, and just realized it's a business like any other, that'd be fine. But they all, like, if you took out Cody Rhodes' name today and put in Tony Nese's, nobody would bat an eye. It'd be like, oh, there's the first AEW departure, but it wouldn't be the biggest story in the world. But everybody made this utopia, made this like the best of the best, and they're making money, and everyone's happy, and everything's perfect. It's like the .com dream, in wrestling, except most of the .coms went bankrupt. Anyway, that I've said a lot, but I think people know what I mean, and I suspect that you probably have similar. I shouldn't speak for you, but I've known you a while. I suspect you probably feel similarly. You might use different words,
right? I mean, because like what you just said kind of took the words out of my mouth. Like, it sounded like there was basically a lot of contrast of styles, because Cody, you can say what you want about him, at the end of the day, Cody kind of has that old school mentality of wrestling, whereas Tony Khan likes to say that he's all about the modern wrestling fan. Kenny Omega likes to wrestle, but Kenny also has that modern wrestling kind of way of thinking. So for a guy like Cody, I'm pretty sure that pissed Cody off, where he's just like, well, I think maybe we should maybe do less of this and more of this, whereas Tony is like, nah, that's that old wrestling trope you're talking about. Let's do more of this. The fans want to see this. They don't want to see that. And I'm pretty sure, again, there was a lot of bumping of the heads. And like you just said, there's a lot of truth to these EVPs, that were friendly in Ring of Honor and NJPW. And then they work together in AEW, and they realize, you know what? This guy's kind of not my cup of tea. Like, this guy has different ideologies than me. I thought we were going to work out well together. And now I kind of don't like him. And, for AEW, they obviously have their own way of wrestling. Like, they're for the modern wrestling fan. And for a guy like Cody, I mean, I don't want to, like, put words in your mouth, but, like, I've always said about Cody, at least he's a guy that gets it as far as wrestling goes. Like, he looks like anytime you saw Cody, he was always in the best shape. Kenny always, looked like he was either not working out enough or just not working out at all. Cody just always took it seriously and would always have a great match with anybody. So for a guy like Cody, he's like, you know what? This is not what I thought it'd be, and I'm going to leave before something crazy happens. So him going back to WWE makes sense because it fits, I guess, his mentality of thinking at the moment, where it's just like, I take this seriously. I'm getting in the best of shape. And WWE, at the end of the day, they're still a professional company that likes to treat their company, we're professionals. Let's try to act professional, even though most of us are kind of dicks. Let's pretend that we're at least professional. Let's look professional. Let's make sure our athletes are working out and in the best of shape. So for Cody to go back to WWE, it's shocking, but at the same time, it's not that shocking. Because for the past, it seemed like almost a year, you kind of saw the writing on the wall. And as far as like Cody's school goes, yeah, I do think that's in jeopardy. As far as his other ventures go, like his 2 reality shows, or actually not 2 reality shows, just his 1 reality show and his other TV show, I think that's a bonus for WWE, because if there's one thing Vince McMahon likes more than money, it's making more money. and more advertising and more.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know who owns them. I mean, they're under the Warner Brothers family right now, so that's who has the contract. So right. I mean, yes, could Comcast come in and offer to buy them from Warner Brothers? Yeah, but I don't know that they can just sell it without some consent. And I believe that some of the ownership of the production companies themselves include AEW and Tony Khan individually, just like WWE is a producer on Young Rock and Mr. and Mrs. Miz or Mr. and Ms. whatever the show is called. So I don't know how likely it is. I mean, I don't know if Warner Brothers cares enough about either of these shows, and it might be independent. What Warner Brothers? I mean, John Cena's on a Warner Brothers product right now, yeah. So I mean, it's Warner Brothers may still want the Go Home show. It's a game show. They seem to do well. They're relatively cheap. Rhodes to the Top, though, didn't perform very well. It wasn't formally produced. If she's not wrestling and he's in a different company where he doesn't have executive roles, I'm not sure that they're interested in that one. That might have been like a favor for a friend. We pay him $18,000 or whatever, and he gets to be on TV, and we can fill an hour a week, whatever. But maybe USA wants it. Maybe they run it after Mr. and Mrs. Miz or whatever that's called. Maybe Comcast Universal makes a play for it. I wouldn't assume that. I mean, but those shows and the production houses, even Tony Khan might view it. Hey, it's going to be on a bigger platform. He's going to get more eyes. I'll make more money out of it. I just don't think Tony Khan sees the world that way, and I don't think that it matters to him if his profit from Rhodes to the Top goes from $20,000 to $27,000 because he. Who knows what he's really worth, but whatever it is, he stands to inherit $8 billion or half of $8 billion. So, whatever it is, it's all chump change. So, I don't know. I think that we should put the TV shows on the side and consider them to be on a hiatus. But if WB is going to renew the Go Home show, I think it's going to stay on TBS or TNT. I'd be very surprised if Rhodes to the Top, we ever hear about it again. Now, will Cody approach WWE about them doing a similar type of show if they can on the contract? Maybe. Will they listen? I don't know. I don't know where Cody's head is at. I mean, they're talking about offering him the same kind of, like the Kevin Owens contract, the $3 to $5 million type of, mid to upper card contract. So that may be enough. Maybe he doesn't want to work so damn hard. I don't know. I mean, he can still do his thing on heels, which is, a totally different thing. I don't know. The answer is, a lot of people think that Cody owns the show and he gets to make the decision. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in a television show, and it's not AEW, and it's not just Tony Khan, and it's not just Cody Rhodes, and it's not just the network, and it's probably not just even WB. But the first thing would be the WB would either have to cancel it and release any rights they have, or we'd have to see the contract what it says, but WB would have to cancel it and or sell the contract to someone else, or cancel it and then they could try to shop it to whoever they wanted. And maybe Comcast Universal would be interested. Maybe not. I don't know that they're interested in advancing Cody's career any. I don't think the Rhodes to the Top was a giant success. I know it started with something like 450,000 and it ended around 300,000, and I think they said that's fine. But but it wasn't like, whoa, this is like the Real Housewives. We're going to make a franchise out of this. This show's going to be on for 15 years.
So going back to what you said, do you think it's a thing of Cody going back to WWE because he's like, you know what? I did what I wanted to do over the Indies, Ring of Honor, and JPW. I won the NWA title. I started AEW. They look like they can do fine without me. So do you think it's a thing of like, I'm just going to take the easy money, and Brandy's going to stay at home with the kid, and I'm just going to do my thing? Do you think that's kind of Cody's mind? I know you said you don't know how Cody's thinking, but if you had to guess, do you think that's kind of Cody's way of thinking at the moment?
No, but I think that's what he's going to say. Now, where else is he going to go? There's only two companies in wrestling that pay money. One is AEW, one is WWE. Apparently AEW wasn't going to pay arguably their biggest star, certainly one of their top 5 biggest stars, money to keep him in-house even with all the bad, hard feelings he had towards WWE, apparently he had more bad, hard feelings towards some of his co-workers and co-EVPs and whatever else in there. Maybe his power was taken away and he felt emasculated. Maybe working as a wrestler isn't as hard as people like to think it is. It is on your body, but maybe not so much on your mind. I don't know what it is, but no, I think that's what he's going to say. But I think it's about it. His ego is bruised, and I think there was only one place for him to go to continue working in this business where he could get paid. I mean, he could be a top act on any indie or whatever. He has choices. I mean, Brian Cage is still working the indies. Hammerstone works the indies. So no, I think he's making big money right now. This is a big coup, a PR coup for WWE, and I think that Cody has sort of that reptilian cunning kind of thing. He may not be that smart a guy, but he's smart to know this is my time. I'm never going to be worth more to them than right now. I am the first big defection from AEW. I have to, if I want to make that big money, I got to get there before Mox or Jericho or Wardlow or who, whatever. Insert name here. So he's, because there's never going to be a first big defection again.
And just to kind of capitalize on two things you said. So he is at the moment, the first big defection going back to the company. This is something I kind of pointed out earlier in the show, talk about LA Knight. The WWE on their main roster, they need more guys that have a name to go against, mid-carders. Or, in Cody's case, since he's, arguably he's one of the bigger names in the free agent pool at the moment that looks like he's going to WWE. Definitely one of the biggest, names in AEW. Could you put him in the main event picture against a Lashley or a Reigns?
Could you?
Or an Edge?
No, but you could have him come in. I mean, there's tons of stories. I mean, the Miz writes itself. Edge? Sure, why not? Randy Orton writes itself.
Mm-hmm.
How about old Bullet Club versus new Bullet Club? Finn Balor has some unfinished business. He never liked what Cody did with his thing. I mean, AJ, I suppose you could, put into that too. But everyone's like, what's Finn Balor doing? Nothing. This is something he could do. And he's also someone who can lose. What's AJ doing now? Well, he's with Damian Priest. Do you want Damian Priest to lose? I don't know. Maybe some people do. Maybe some people don't. But if he doesn't, what's the next thing for AJ? Cody Rhodes makes a lot of sense. And can AJ lose that feud? Yes, he can. So could it I don't think Cody should beat Roman, but right now I don't think anybody except Brock should beat Roman, and I don't even really want Brock to beat Roman, but I don't think anyone but Brock should beat Roman, or maybe Lashley, or maybe if they brought back a Fiend and he was in shape and they committed to the character and not shitty ass booking. But that's like it in the universe right now.
Right. And going back to something you said, like Chris Jericho had put up a tweet, talking about Kevin Owens, where, they talked about the best friend celebration where Kevin Owens turned on Jericho, and Jericho said, I never forgot about that. You never know where I could turn up. I don't know Jericho's contract situation. I'm not sure if you do, but, there's the possibility of Jericho coming back, and, there have been pictures of Jericho losing weight and, getting back into shape. So maybe he's getting back into the WWE shape. And Moxley has said before, never say never, I could go back to WWE.
Yeah, I think Moxley's contract is up in May. Jericho, I think that his contract was up last year and then he extended for another year. I don't think 2 years. So his contract may be coming up soon as well. It's either soon or he's got almost another full year. But whatever it is, I think everybody thinks Jericho is going to come back to the WWE at some point. If nothing else, he wants to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's big for your bookings and autographs and whatever. Maybe it doesn't feel that way right now, but in 12 years it will be when he's 63. So we'll see. But I think Mox is probably the most likely next big one. But let's face it, the narrative isn't going to be the same until we see the books. Something big happens, there's some other big blow up, or one of the younger stars leaves. If it was an Adam Page or a Wardlow, or an MJF or Sammy Guevara, if someone like that left, that would be the next big news, because nobody at this point would be shocked by Moxley or Jericho, going back to the place that pays them a lot and made them famous and will keep them famous.
Right, and also Moxley's a married man. He has a kid. I don't know how old he is, but he can't keep doing this garbage, deathmatch stuff forever. He's going to want to take the easy payday. Same thing Jericho. Jericho's, in his early 50s. He's going to want that easy payday. He's going to want that Hall of Fame thing. Like you just said, it's going to be good for his bookings. So they're going to go back. It's only a matter of time.
It felt like things changed with the Swole stuff. Just a little bit, just enough. And then Leo Rush. Now, I'm no Leo Rush fan, but then with Leo Rush. And now you see Sheeta tweet what she tweeted. And now you hear the comments from Miro, and then we remember what Brian Cage was saying. He hasn't said anything in 10 months. But, it's starting to sound a lot like WWE. And as I've always said, AEW is just another promotion. Maybe they want it to be better, but you can't in this business. I mean, there's still fans out there who think the wrestlers are on full-time salaries and get health insurance. And they just, you can't reach those people. But God bless them. If wrestling fans were smart, there'd be no wrestling. Because I'll admit, I've been watching this shit for close to 50 years. It's a stupid thing to watch, but I watch it, and I love it, obviously. But it's not smart entertainment. It's not made for smart people. So, I don't know, but I sort of feel like that. Maybe people like Sheeta, knew that this was going on. Maybe Miro let that story out because he sort of felt empowered because he sort of knew that there was shit going on and that Cody his representatives were talking to WWE. There ain't a lot of people in that company. They don't have much infrastructure, and the corporate infrastructure they have is largely not professional, and a lot of it is sort of borrowed from the Jaguars. Like their corporate counsel is that 30-year-old woman who's probably the third junior in-house legal counsel for the Jaguars. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who talk and gossip like it's a locker room because that's what they're used to doing. They're not executives. They don't know about NDAs. And let's face it, Tony Khan may or may not be smart. I really don't know. But dispositionally, his intellectual maturity and his emotional maturity don't necessarily need to. You can be very smart and be emotionally immature.
It's like Mish says, he's Jacksonville Dixie. Like he just strikes me as somebody that is very much a spoiled rich kid. Like anytime he gets a new toy, he's done playing with it, I'm going to move on to my new favorite toy. Like Miro. Miro for, a while was hot. And then, I think he got hurt, but, then there was a whole thing of him saying, I'm actually, I'm good. I'm actually ready to come back, but I'm just waiting on creative. What does that sound like?
Well, apparently it sounds nothing like creative has nothing for you right now, because I've been told that it's completely different things.
Right. I mean, again, you said on your show that, people are like, oh, they're just letting the contract, expire. It's like, yeah, I think you said at the end of the day, they still don't have a job. Whether it's getting released or their contract's running out, they still don't have a job. It's like, there's no such thing as half pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not.
Right. And I do get the distinction. I mean, there's a bigger, like the thing we just said with the Miro's comment, creative's nothing for you, I'm waiting for creative. That distinction is smaller than non-renewal and a release. I mean, I do get it, and the impact of it may differ on how far you are into your contract or how close you are to the, your termination date when the release. I mean, there's also, in a non-renewal, there's also not 90-day of full pay at the highest, wages in town. Whatever it is, I get it. With the non-renewal, maybe you had an expectation, you had a reasonable expectation that you maybe wouldn't work. But if you were the one who wanted to be renewed, if you wanted to stay there, you're still not getting your job. You're still losing your job. It still feels the same. The net result is the same. It isn't as big a divide as fans would like it to seem. And the day will come when there's releases and they're not as easy as a Jimmy Havoc.
Another big name that kind of comes into play. Well, this supposedly won't happen for another 2 years, but MJF. He's been making it very clear this summer of 2024 there's going to be a big bidding war. Do you see MJF coming to WWE?
I think they'll make a play for him, but at the end of the day, I think that MJF really is just too small for WWE. I think they're gonna look at him the same way they looked at Adam Cole and say he'd make a great man.
No, this is where we disagree. Adam Cole is painfully thin. MJF actually looks like something. Like he can talk, he can work, he has a larger than life personality that someone like Vince would love. So I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if you say an AEW, because him being an AEW works because it allows him to be more creative. Whereas in WWE, they would try to stifle a lot of his material.
I think if you saw MJF next to, say, Drew McIntyre, you might feel differently. Maybe not. But if MJF remains at the top of AEW like he is now in 2 years and he's not re-signed, they'll make a bid for him because it's smart for business to take AEW's biggest heel or one of their top 3 biggest heels then away from them. It makes sense to take somebody from your competition. I mean, there are times where, Bill Belichick used to do this all the time. So somebody would release, a cornerback or a linebacker, and the Patriots would pick them up that week with no intention of keeping them, just because they wanted to know what the defensive plays were and the calls were, and then they picked them right up. Yes, it's good for the Patriots that week. That would be good for WWE for the next year, and the stories and the promos would be epic. So and also in 2 years, Vince will be 78, and then, I don't know if that means anything or not, but, people tend to slow down as they, maybe there'll be more confidence, maybe they'll have their new TV rights, and presumably they'll have increased by then. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, if all things being equal at this point, WWE would make a play for them, but I think AEW would probably try to keep him just because his age. I think they would treat it different than Cody. But I don't know. There's a lot of time between now and then.
And also with MJF, he looks like if he goes to WWE, he's obviously going to want to bulk up. And I think MJF can do that. He looks like he could have almost that like Carmelo Hayes build.
Yeah,
where, like he's definitely not Adam Cole where he like is afraid to touch a weight apparently. But
no, he's ebbed and flowed, and right now he's flowing. Right now he's waxing. He's getting bigger. Like during COVID, he got noticeably smaller. He's starting to bulk up again. Get more tone.
Right. But
and he's young. I mean, you can get bigger more easily when you're bigger when you're older if you keep at it.
And you just all in all, this Cody defecting, the possibility of Jericho going back, Moxley going back, maybe even a Rusev. Well, not really Rusev, but Rusev has been being very cryptic, and same thing with Shida. This all started with Big Swole, and like you said, you're starting to see the cracks of AEW. It's not this picture perfect, everybody's happy. This is complete nirvana wrestling company. We're starting to see that Tony Khan isn't the savior of pro wrestling like we thought he was.
Well, I never thought he was, but if you wanted to see the cracks, you could have seen them before. You could have seen the smoke and mirrors before, but I think what the Swole thing has made it impossible to ignore completely. You could try to justify them, you could try to rationalize them, you could try to make the argument for your tribe, whatever, but I think it made it impossible to ignore, and then there's just been thing after thing. And that's going to happen. I mean, even little things like Marco Stunt and Peter Avalon, and we're going to start hearing more of the people getting not renewed. Swerve hasn't. I think everybody expected that Swerve would have been hired already. Every time there's WWE releases, people seem to act like AEW hires all of them. No, they hire maybe 10% of them. If 150 WWE wrestlers were released within the last 14 months, AEW might have added 10 or 12 of them.
Let me ask you something before we move on to the next topic, because we spent a lot of time on this, and deservedly so. But do you think?
It's a big deal.
Do you think Tony Khan is kind of a vengeful person?
Yeah, I think he's small, and I think he's a little petulant because he is spoiled. I think he's spiteful the way a 7-year-old is spiteful. Like, I think it's impulse. I don't think it's something that he can control or even views as being petty or spiteful. I just think that when you have been raised never needing anything, never wanting for anything, and no one ever saying no for you, and we're already in a world where you don't have to really wait for anything. You don't have to move to get everything you want. So we're all sort of spoiled. Plus, you got a father who's worth $9 billion, has a football team, a NFL American football team as well. So the first football team is, Premier League soccer, whatever you want to call it. You've had whatever you wanted. You're it's what my former boss used to call the Lucky Sperm Club.
All right, so I asked that because one of the followers, Johnny Z, good friend of mine, good friend of the show, we were talking about Killer Cross. Killer Cross is 90 Day No Complete. It went up in what I believe was it the 2nd or the 3rd of this month, and
whenever Keith Lee's was up, his was up.
Right, and he's made it very clear he's not going to sign full time with anybody at the moment, because he's filming a movie and he's doing other indie bookings. He announced that he's going to be back on MLW just for like a one-time thing. He was on Chris Van Fleet and he talked about why he chose WWE over AEW. Do you think Tony Khan would kind of blackball him and not sign him? Because Tony Cross, because he chose WWE over AEW.
No, I don't think that Tony Khan is particularly interested in Cross because I think he thinks he already has him. Wardlow.
All right. I mean, and also Cross, he's pretty much going to go back to WWE. I mean, it's not obvious, but I mean, he kind of will because he made it very clear, I'll go back, but under these conditions. He looks like it sounds like he has unfinished business because
it's not his choice, but he's saying the right things and he's keeping the doors open, but he's doing other things. I mean, I hope he is. I'm a supporter of his. I've been a fan of his since Lucha Underground. So going back probably that same 8-year time span that we were talking about earlier. But they released him. So he can do whatever he wants. If I'm a big man, I wouldn't go to AEW, period, because big men are there to make little men look good and to lose to little men in the end. Even Brody Lee, only was booked strong for a couple of months, and then he lost to Cody in a stipulation match that Cody asked for the stipulation that made absolutely no sense. And after that he was sort of meandering, and then he had health problems, and then he died, and rightfully so. There's a lot of respect on his name and his memory, and like I said, rightfully so. But they're talking about him like he was a legend and greatest TNT champion of all time. I understand that's an honorific. It's not literal, but he ran into Cody Cena as well. I don't know. If I'm a big man, I'd be very hesitant. I would watch to see what's happening with Keith Lee very closely. If I'm Miro and Hobbs, I'm not so happy because somebody just took their job.
Right.
Not that Hobbs has been doing jack or shit anyway, except standing behind Ricky Starks
and
losing to the guy to get to Ricky Starks. But then Starks can't stay healthy, and those matches never happen.
Yeah, it's just like Hobbs is so fucking good. It's like, why aren't you using this guy more? Same thing with the Starks.
Is he so good? I've seen him wrestle 4 times. Is he so good?
It's just like, he made that interview a while ago where he's like, WWE, dangled that offer in front of me, but I said, fuck them, and I went to AEW. And I'm just like, yeah, what have you been doing?
Right, well, he's collecting a check for not doing very much. Listen, kudos to him. He works out. He has got noticeably bigger. People say he's so good. I mean, and I'm not insulting him. I think he's good enough. I think he's a good wrestler. I don't think he's so. I think he's like he's like Eli Drake or LA Knight. I think he's good enough. But people talk about him like he's Bryan Danielson out there. But he's good. But him making those comments publicly was rather stupid because he burned a bridge that he hadn't even arrived at yet. And he should use it now. WWE is a business, and they tend not to care. I mean, they've bring back Cody. They've brought back Bruno, Ultimate Warrior. There's much more bad blood that they've ignored, looked the other way, or cured in the past than some 25-year-old kid spouting off on Twitter, being loyal to his first real boss that's paying him real money. So I don't think he did himself permanent damage, but I mean, I don't really want to spend too much time on Hobbs or any particular wrestler. If I'm a big man in wrestling, I'd be looking very closely. I mean, Luchasaurus just got fortunate to have tagged with Jungle Boy before AEW existed, and that little act continued. And I guess in theory, young people like Jungle Boy, although his segments are the lowest rated, even though like 10 months ago they were among the highest rated. My theory is that goddamn song has killed everyone, just like it did in the 80s. You liked it for 6 days and then you never wanted to hear it again. And then there's Wardlow, which this slow burn with MJF has been really slow because I know they don't know what the fuck to do with him afterwards, because you can't have a split without having Wardlow win, but you can't have MJF lose because he's your biggest star. So they have to sort of keep this going as long as they possibly can. It's like AEW knows how to tell a story and get to a big spot, but they don't know what to do afterwards.
Right. And that sucks, because like this at the moment, this is probably the biggest storyline that you have in the company, with your hottest heel and your rising star. And it's like with Adam Page. It's like they spent all that time trying to get him over. Now that he's a champion, it seems like they don't know what the fuck to do with him.
Right. I mean, all the stories. How long ago was the Dante Martin screwing over Team Taz was a big deal? Now it's like an afterthought. And the Jay Lethal thing, that was a big deal. Now it's nothing. What other stories? You were going to get Billy Gunn against Sting with WCW against WWE, and then that's over. And there and other stuff. There's the Moxley. There was like what was the sub story that Moxley was in that seemed like it was going to be a big deal? Now it's like sort of dropped.
I think it was the thing with I know he was in a tag team with Kingston, and he was going to turn heel on somebody, and then he went to rehab. I forgot what it was. Right.
Yeah, and then everything, all stories sort of get sidelined because they sort of needed to hotshot Moxley in a tag team with Punk, which they're obviously not going to be a tag team forever. Oh, Moxley, the story was, Brian was trying to recruit him, and that's an interesting story. But, like, doesn't it already feel like it was like 400 years ago?
Well, I mean, it happened 2 weeks ago, and then he was in the match with Punk. So, I mean, I imagine they're still going to continue it, hopefully.
Yeah, but you don't put someone in a match with Punk when you've got that other big story going around, or at least, like, Brian doesn't get involved in that or make his presence known. I don't know. It just feels weird. It just feels like they're putting in their biggest names into every quarter and ignoring other people. But in the midst of that, their it's like stories sort of get lost and dropped and forgotten.
Yeah, that's the story of AEW. They like to pretend.
It sort of is. It's like exhibition. They can put together dream match after dream match, exhibition match. They can put these fun teams together, but there's really no reason for them. I mean, O'Reilly and Fish, where do they feel like they fit in now with Jay White? Is it going to be Jay White's in the middle, Adam Cole and Red Dragon? Kenny Omega's not back yet, so it's going to be him and the Bucks. Well, now you have 4-on-3, one way or another. I mean, you don't even have 3-on-3 or 3 teams of 3. I mean, I know the Gorillas of Destiny are performing at Impact, so maybe they could come in and it could be, sort of 3 factions of 3 that sort of are opposed to each other a little bit. I don't know. I mean, don't bring the Goof Brothers back in.
Oh, God.
But I'm pretty sure that Impact thing is done anyway with AEW, now and forever. I just don't understand. It just feels like O'Reilly and Fisher are afterthoughts. To me, that's fine, because I don't think either of them are worth a darn anyway. But they were brought in as sort of big deals, but you bring in a succession of big deals, and then if everything's a big deal, no one feels like a big deal. If everyone's a star, no one's a star. If everyone does extraordinary moves, it's ordinary.
Right, and it's just like they're still continuing the random best friends versus the elite, and now Adam Cole apparently is moving on to the title picture. And it's just, we'll move on to the next topic. I just want to close this out. It's just AEW is just, they don't know what to do. They really don't know what to do. They do one thing and then they want to try and insert another storyline mid storyline with another storyline.
Yeah, they're too cluttered. I don't think anyone in wrestling really knows what to do. I mean, let's not let WWE off the hook, but we don't have time. But this topic's about AEW, and then they were supposed to be the perfect promotion, and they just keep adding ingredients, and the dishes. It's gone from being a stew to a casserole to just a bloody mess.
Speaking of WWE, good segue. Elimination Chamber will be this Saturday at Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, in the Jeddah Superdome. And it will be 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 p.m. Central Time, or 11 a.m. Central Time, I'm sorry. On Peacock, it will be a premium live event. Let's get into the matches. So far, there's 8 matches. It looks like that's how it's going to be. We'll start from the bottom. Rey Mysterio versus The Miz. Singles match.
Rey Mysterio has to win. He's the face at Saudi Arabia. Everyone has to say yay.
Right. And, Rey Mysterio. The Miz can lose 1,000 matches and he'll be fine. Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Charlotte Flair and Sonya. Tag match.
I have heard that there's a stipulation where Ronda has to have one arm tied behind her back.
Probably because SmackDown's going to be taped this Friday. And they did like a contract segment. So maybe that's what happened. And also,
I thought it was a joke.
And also, spoilers, Sami Zayn is the new Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah. I think even with that stipulation, the faces win, and Ronda's line from now on, because she can't cut a promo on her own, is going to be, Charlotte, I already beat you once with one hand tied behind my back. Imagine what I can do with you to do you at WrestleMania with both my arms. Right.
So the faces win. Elimination Chamber match for a WWE Raw Women's Championship match at Mania. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Doudrop, Nikki Ash, and Alexa Bliss.
Bianca Belair. Her hero's journey has to be paid off at WrestleMania, or all the critics were right.
Bianca, I'd say Bianca, but Rhea had that 44 minutes in the gauntlet, so I don't know if that means they're going to do anything with her. I like Rhea. I really think she needs to be a heel. Like, she needs a character change quick. But I'm going to go with Bianca Belair, so looks like they're going to continue that storyline at Mania with Becky. Falls Count Anywhere match, Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss.
I couldn't care less about any match on the card, less than this one, and that includes a Rey Mysterio Jr. versus The Miz match. Drew has to beat Madcap Moss. Otherwise, this one I could see a swerve. Baron Corbin cost Drew the match.
Right, and also it kind of looks like, Drew's WrestleMania match is going to be against Corbin. Because they announced Corbin's undefeated ever since being Happy Corbin.
Great. I wonder he's happy. Whatever. Yeah, and Drew, hey Drew, talking about Drew, I think Drew McIntyre came back too quickly. He was stale. Him being away for like 3 or 4 months would have been great. He was only gone for a month. I know that they felt like they needed him and all of that jazz, but yeah, he wasn't gone long enough to be missed.
So we're picking Drew or Moss?
I'm going to pick Moss. Or if Drew wins, it's going to be because of a disqualification.
Well, it's Falls Count Anywhere.
Doesn't say no DQ.
Yeah, true. I guess I'll side with you. Next is a Universal Championship match. Roman Reigns versus Goldberg.
Roman Reigns is not losing the title.
Right. Roman Reigns winning. Goldberg has already said this is his last contracted match with the company. So I don't know if that means this will be like a retirement match, or I don't know what they're going to do with him. I know Saudi Arabia loves him, but it depends on who you put in the ring with him, because if it's a bigger name, then Goldberg usually loses. If it's like a Roman or a Brock or Lashley somebody who Goldberg thinks is like more on his level or bigger, he'll do the job. But if it's like a Bray or a Kevin Owens, he won't do the job. So Roman's not losing the title to Oldberg. Let's see. Next is WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship match: the Usos versus the Viking Raiders.
The Usos are not losing their titles.
Agreed. Usos are winning. Next is the Raw Women's Championship: Becky Lynch versus Lita.
Becky Lynch is winning, but she'll make Lita look terrific.
Right, and Lita said that she has no plans going forward to do anything with WWE, past Elimination Chamber. So,
spoiler,
this is a one-time thing. Or if again, it's WWE, so they'll probably throw a lot of money at her to see if she'll do something at Mania. What I'm assuming is the main event: Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley, the champion, versus Brock Lesnar, versus Seth freaking Rollins, versus Austin Theory, versus Matt Riddle, versus AJ Styles.
Okay, this is the one I have the most trouble with, because in the modern era, WWE is about event building, and the biggest event is WrestleMania, and the biggest event on WrestleMania would be title versus title, Brock versus Roman, unification match. Problem with that one is that they're on two networks, and both networks want a champion. However, if the networks can be convinced that this is the biggest story and it's going to get the most eyes on their shows no matter what, and it will be short-lived, that they'll each get their own titles back, within 90 days of WrestleMania or whatever. I think they could do it. So I am going to go with my new philosophy because I have been trying to understand WWE for the last year without much success. Like, just when I think I know what they're doing, they do something like release Cross and Aleister Black and Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt and do things I don't understand. So I'm going to go with the event. I'm going to go with Brock winning. He's the champion. Unification title for WrestleMania. It's not what I want. Everyone knows I'm pro Lashley. Everyone knows that the founding principle of Hammerlock Hangover was that me and Steve were the only two Smashley fans we knew, even during the Lana thing. And we're unabashedly pro Lashley, but I think the WWE says he's a two-time champion. That's good enough. This is the story.
I'm kind of with you because, this is a match where I'm not even sure what's gonna happen, because the idea going forward is they want champion versus champion. I kind of disagree with you on one thing where, you said both networks want a champion. The champion can go to any network he wants. So he can go to Fox, he can go to USA, so they're still going to have a champion. So,
and Brock doesn't do that, so it'll be Roman. I also think, and I'm sorry to take your time, but I think that Ronda Rousey is a big enough name that Ronda versus Charlotte can headline one night of WrestleMania. I don't think they need two men's matches at the top.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of the idea going forward. But and I love Bobby Lashley too, so I'm part of Team Smashley as well. I don't like the idea of putting the title back on Lashley and then just taking it back from him, but it seems like that's kind of how they're going. Another possibility is, this could be a la No Way Out Elimination Chamber from 2010 when Shawn Michaels came out from under the chamber and super kicked The Undertaker. That could be a thing of, Roman Reigns hiding under the chamber and then screwing over Brock.
Could be.
It'd be like, you screwed me over. I'm going to, I screwed you over once. I can do it again because fuck you. That's why.
What about Cody?
That could happen too. So I don't know. This match can go either way. I mean, it wouldn't disappoint me if it ends up with Brock winning, so we get a unification match at Mania, because I've been very pro let's just have one champion, because having two titles is stupid, but that's another conversation for another show. I've said that a million times. But, I mean, there could be a wild card. There could be a wild card of, what if AJ Styles wins it? What if Bobby ends up walking away? What if, and I hate to piss you off by saying this, what if Seth wins it?
I mean, I would hate that for a lot of reasons. People, you and Steve both are always trying to sandwich Seth into things. I mean, it seems
I'm not see this.
It seems very clear to me that the story now is Seth and Kevin Owens going for the tag team championship. I mean, and are they not friends? Or are they going to stay friends? So, I mean, and since WWE wants to break up tag teams, that will give them a chance to break up the RK Bros. They'll have their next mismatch, tag team as champions, which they like, because God forbid they don't like actual teams being champions. And then maybe they bring up the Creed brothers or MSK or whatever, and to exploit the tension between Seth and KO. But I think Seth and KO are going after tag team gold at WrestleMania. Seth is not going to be in the main event. Nobody wants to see Seth in the main event. I know he's a great wrestler, but he sucks. He speaks, and I just want to turn the TV off.
I'm kind of enjoying the whole goofy, Joker Seth Rollins. I don't know why. I'm kind of enjoying it. It's like you said about Moonfall. It's deliciously bad.
Fair enough.
But I don't know. Like, this match can go either way, but it wouldn't like disappoint me if it ends up just being Brock wins it. Clean as a sheet. But
I would trade Seth Rollins to AEW for Wardlow and the Acclaimed in a heartbeat.
Maybe not the Acclaimed, but I'd definitely take Wardlow. So that's Elimination Chambers this Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern. Will you be up early watching it?
Noon is not early.
I'm sorry?
Noon is not early.
I'm just saying, I don't know what your sleeping schedule is, Jeff.
I will be up to watch it on... it's a Saturday, right?
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for asking that.
Absolutely. Other news, what else? 205 Live is no more. It'll be now a NXT show called Level Up. They already did a taping tonight, and the first episode will be this Friday. It will be on the Peacock. It will not be on television. So now NXT, kind of like, the main roster has two different shows. AEW has, 4 different shows. NXT has another show. What do you think that means?
More content for Peacock. It's a job for Quinn McKay, which is amazing. She's terrific from Ring of Honor commentary. So a little personality there. I mean, maybe we'll get away from robots being there. Maybe Wade and Pat McAfee has taught WWE that personalities are a good thing. I don't know if it's going to be, sort of like Dark, where it's more performance center people or lower end NXT people, or it's just going to be an NXT supplemental show. I really don't know. I guess they'll put with the remaining roster of 205 Live that's not on the main roster on there as well, because 205 Live is officially dead, which, as you said, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to guess it's sort of like the lower rung of NXT, but occasionally we'll see, higher end people of NXT, like your player coaches, like maybe like Cameron Grimes or Dexter Lumis will have featured roles there. Dakota Kai's or whatever will be more featured because they'll be working with the younger talent. But I honestly don't know. I'm completely speculating right now.
So it's not necessarily going to be like a SmackDown for NXT. It's going to be more like a Heat or a Velocity or like a Shotgun Saturday Night, essentially.
Sort of. Okay. Well, I mean, it still doesn't tell me what it's going to be, who's going to be on the card necessarily. But I assume it'll be, we'll see more of the Tiffany Strattons, maybe the Nikki Lyons, maybe that's where Boa pops up again. Maybe Amari, people that we don't see that often that don't make it into the ring on NXT proper will make it to the ring on this. We might see them in vignettes or whatever, but we'll see them in the ring here. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll know after it airs twice. Do you know what time it's going to air on?
It didn't say.
Okay. I imagine it's like on demand. You can get it whatever you want on Peacock just by searching for it.
Right. And then it's on a live show, so it's going to be like NXT before when it was on the network, where it's not live; it just drops on a certain day.
Well, it drops on because NXT, you couldn't see it any time for a week, right? If you didn't watch it live, you had to wait a week. Right. I don't know if they'll do that on Peacock. We'll find out. I'm sure they will make a big deal about doing it. I mean, the only reason, they filed a trademark for the name, and Quinn McKay was at the tapings. That's all the information I have on this.
Well, I'll definitely watch. One last bit of news, non-wrestling related. So, what did you think of the Doctor Strange trailer?
I mean, I didn't see the Doctor Strange trailer beyond on the episode of the Spider-Man movie. So, if it's the same trailer, I mean,
it's not.
Okay. Then no comment. I haven't seen it.
I won't spoil anything for you. I'll just say it definitely looks like a Sam Raimi movie. I'll say that. It has the elements of horror and looks... I mean, again, everything in Marvel needs to look different. Every movie has to have its own feel. Not everything has to be the same, but it definitely looks like a horror movie. And there's something that happens mid-trailer that everyone's kind of freaking out about. I'm pretty sure you know what it is, but...
Yeah, then wasn't Patrick Stewart's voice in it, so yeah, everyone's like, the X-Men.
Again,
by the way, I would be one of those people being the X-Men.
Yes and no, but again, I don't want to spoil it for you because you haven't seen it.
They'll run it on TV.
Well, again, I want you to watch it. I want you to watch it on your own and get your own opinion on it. Yeah, that's really the show. It's everything we had to cover today. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
I mean, a referee passed away this week. Some shows make a thing about saying that.
Yeah. Well, fuck.
Mickey something.
Hold on, let me look it up.
Obviously, I'm not one of the shows.
Wrestling referee that passed away. Okay, here we go. Mickey J. Mickey J, former WWE and WCW referee, passed away. Let's see. He was 59. Henson passed away following a battle of pneumonia from COVID-19. According to PW Insider, he was taken off life support at 6:19 p.m. Eastern Time this morning. Henson suffered severe lung damage while battling not leukemia, but pneumonia. And then they're just talking about his career. He began working as a referee in 1987. Worked in WCW in the 90s. Was there until WWE purchased it in 2001. WWE hired him in 2005, and he eventually worked as a head referee for SmackDown ECW. He left the ring in 2008 after being diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma, which he later defeated. He later left WWE in 2009 and was complimentary of WWE for keeping him paid for 8 months after he learned of his illness. See, WWE does nice things. At one point, he had been told he had only had months to live, but he battled back and defeated the cancer. He briefly worked as an enhancement talent on WWE TV in the early 90s and also wrestled on the Florida indie scene. He lived in Key West, Florida for more than 15 years and was known to be an avid fisherman. So this guy lived quite a life. He battled cancer, beat it.
How old was he?
59.
59? Yeah, I was going to say 60. All right, well, sad. So, yeah, COVID's dangerous, especially if you were immunocompromised or if your body had already been ravaged in the past. Just because you beat cancer doesn't mean that it didn't leave damage behind. So,
yeah, it takes a lot out of you, man. R.I.P. to Mr. Mickey, to him and his family, him and his friends. R.I.P.
Yep.
And I don't want to make this a political show, but everybody get tested, wear your mask, social distance, do all that stuff. You're not just saving your life, you're saving somebody else's life. So
get tested to make sure that your parents aren't brothers and sisters. That's what you should be tested for, you monkeys.
Jesus Christ, Jeff.
You incel monkeys, you.
Try to do something nice and you make it into something else. What's wrong with you?
I am evil.
Yeah, that's very true. You're evil dose. Go ahead and tell them where they can find you.
If you still want to find me after all this, you can find me, my wrestling podcast with Big Daddy Cool Stephen Pena is Hammerlock Hangover. We're going to actually record it tomorrow night, and we have Andrew Carluck from Falls Count Radio joining us and doing the Elimination Chamber predictions. First time ever, a crossover event there. Garden of Doom is my non-wrestling podcast, or one of them. We explore the alternative, whether it's little-known history, alternate history, myths, legends, lore, philosophy, theology. I've recorded a show this week. It's not the one I released. I can't even remember what I released. Norse mythology was last week. And this week, it was a tale Native American lore this week, 4 different stories from my expert in Pisa, Italy. But I recorded a Star Trek deep dive show. I'm recording a show with someone named Madam X tomorrow, who is sort of like a master of all things that go dark in the night, Coven, vampires, stuff like that. So it should be fun and interesting. And Garden Views it's sort of like a sister show. It's for more mainstream interviews. I don't drop it regularly, but there's going to be more regularly. In the last month, I dropped 2 shows that I thought I'm very proud of. One was on the Law of the Sea with Professor Holly DeRamus, who is the director of the Law of the Sea Institute at Berkeley Law, which is a prestigious school, obviously. And also I did a show on cryptocurrency with a guy who's an adjunct teaching a master's level course at Maryland on cryptocurrency. I know very little about crypto. I knew very little about crypto. Now I know a lot more, and I sort of get it more. So I would commend you to check out those shows. I don't think either one of them is much more than an hour and a half, and I generally listen to myself at 1.5 speed, so maybe you can too. I'm going to have a lot more sort of intersection of where legal things meet things that regular people are concerned about. So I've got a show scheduled for security clearances, an NFL agent, military law, student loans, commercial law, space law. I've got booked. So all sorts of fun stuff coming up there that should be educational, informative, and hopefully entertaining as well.
Ooh. Me and Jeff do a Patreon show on my Patreon. You can find me Drew Yari Show. It's called From My Lips to Your Ears. And it's just a show where me and Jeff shoot the shit. We do it mainly at least once a month. The whole basis of the show is just me and him talking about movies, mainly what we watched.
Can I say some more? One more thing? It's one of the shows that I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's the movie Rust, where Alec Baldwin accidentally shot somebody and 2 people died, or 1 person died and 1 got, seriously wounded. A friend of mine who's been a Hollywood producer for 35 years is going to do a show with me. It'll probably be a Garden View, and he wants to do it in person, and he also wants to have a prop director, like from a set on there. And he's not just a little person. He's worked on Django Unchained. He's worked on Spy Games, Hateful Eight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He worked on Dope Sick. He's very proud of that. He's worked on Young Rock and Peripheral, but Young Rock to your audience should be well known. Lots and lots. He's worked on lots and lots of movies over the years, including about like The Dark Tower, which was a disaster. He was on. He's a producer. So, but he's a real deal. Friends with Kevin Feige. Friends with Lauren Donner. For you superhero geeks, you obviously know those names right away. Lauren Donner's ex-husband, Jeffrey Donner, as well. So hopefully we're going to do that show on Rust and give some inside information on it, or expert insight. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it's pretty timely because a lawsuit was just filed against Alec Baldwin and a lot of the other players in the Rust production, saying how they cut corners all over the place. Yeah,
that just came out today. But yeah, that should be a good episode. Look for that to drop, guys. Go to the Patreon, just $5 a month. Me and Jeff do a show. Me and RJ do a show. It's called Attack of the Savage Nerds. We're supposed to be doing something tomorrow, so fingers crossed. Me and Ruben Prime do a show. It's called Worst of the Worst. We've been thinking of changing the name because the whole basis of the show is us reviewing bad movies. But now we kind of want to review movies that they're bad critically, but they're still at least enjoyable to watch. So, and then we will seldomly talk about the news. So we've been thinking about changing the name of the show, but it's still up in the air what the name will be. So Just $5 a month. And then I'm supposed to be doing something with Ruben this Saturday, so look for that to drop. And my show, the regular show, you can hear it on Spreaker, anywhere else like Google, iTunes, and then Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm easy to find. I'm the only Drew Yari I know. I might be the only Drew Yari you know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But we'll see. But yeah, this show should drop tomorrow. I'm gonna try and edit it as soon as I get off here. If not, I'll try to edit it tomorrow. But I thank Mr. Lippman for taking time out of his busy schedule for doing the show with me, reviewing NXT Vengeance Day, and also talking about where Cody Christ might go. But Jeff, thank you for coming on.
I love being part of the Druidiverse.
The Druidiverse. Anyways, guys, hope you have a good week. Hope you had a good Valentine's Day. Stay safe. Have a great week. Get tested. Be careful. And most of all, peace.
Stay evil.
Ever since I was younger, I was destined to be. It felt like everybody was getting moments but me. I am the prodigy of a king. I'm focused on everything. Being about my legacy and everything that it brings. Became a president of a dream in my own hustle. Following the footsteps of father's own struggle. Bigger brother made it, had to call my own. This my moment to be elevated now on the throne. A rose, they call me Cody. People should get to know me. President, they show me. AEW moments. The doubters, I listen closely. Simple show by my haters. Talents of the head chef, I'm not a waiter. Ever since I was younger, I was taught by my father. These hard times come, better get it in order. I've dined with the kings, fell in love with the queen. I became a president of something, follow my dream. And now they say, grind it like I'm Cody Rhodes. Grind it like I'm Cody Rhodes. I've been wanting this more than you should know. I've been wanting this more than you should know. They say, grind it like I'm Cody Rhodes. Grind it like them Cody Rhodes. I've been wanting this more than you should know. I've been wanting this more than you should know.